client of mine, I'm going to call him David for the example of privacy, right? In this example here today, sold his business actually about 2 to 3 years ago. And again, it was life-changing money for David. And again, he at the time felt on top of the world. We're still very close friends today. He's not actually called David, but that's what I'm going to call him for this video, you know? And again, he really actually was on top of the world. And that was until 6 months later, a former business partner filed a lawsuit against him. And again, David, with everything, you know, sitting in his lap, right? His personal name, all of the funds was in his personal name. He was living in Switzerland himself. You know, he had a huge chunk of money in private investment accounts with private banks all over the place. And again, that was all very vulnerable, okay? And again, he got sued, not because he did anything wrong, because essentially he was just reachable. And that is the key that we're actually speaking about here today, because there was nothing between him and his funds protecting those funds, if that makes sense. And this is the main moment that most people wake up. I can't stress this enough, when it's almost too late. I even had a phone call earlier with another client, and he says, well, when the problem arises, we'll just fix a problem. I said, why not fix a problem now, you know? And that's the difference between a lot of these people. They just let the problem kind of marinate, and well, they don't actually go through the full consequences when the problem actually arises. Okay, so here's the first thing that I want everyone watching this video to understand, because I think it's generally extremely important, especially from who I've gone and dealt with, what I've seen, the stories I've gone and heard, whether it's a personal lifestyle, business lifestyle, whatever it is. I've seen a lot of different things, especially for my age, right? And you hear a lot of people go on about offshore structures, and they think they're tax evasion or something like this. They think they're secrecy. They think, you know, it's someone in a trench hiding money, you know, around the dark with dirty money and stuff like this. Yes, I'm sure that goes on, but there is completely legitimacy within these types of structures, right? That is not what it is in terms of dirty money and all of this. What it is at its core is friction, you know? It creates the jurisdictional deep dive, the actual legal friction between international barriers, right? And as long as it's professionally administrated, it is fantastic to move yourself away from your own assets, you know? And then that protects you if somebody does decide to come after those assets as well. So think about it in this way, okay, guys? If somebody sues you and everything, okay, is in your personal name, I mean absolutely everything, they can essentially attack everything, you know? This is in your home country, in a single bank account. Their lawyer sends one letter, bish, bash, bosh, that has been completed, done, your assets are frozen while you even fight it, right? But if your assets actually sit inside a Cook Island trust, owned through a Liechtenstein Anstalt, which then holds a British Virgin Island company, which is a general partner of a Cayman company and 2 other business cash-generating businesses. As we can see here, we have the Irish SaaS software company. Then we have a Lithuanian VOSP. Obviously, this is an old example. And this is what the guy actually went into, David. This is his current structure today, right? And again, you're looking at 5 legal systems, 5 courts. Yes, each of them costs money to have a slight upkeep, but not at the cost that it would do if you were sued. And here's the truth about litigation that nobody really tells you. Most of it is economically rational. If the cost of chasing your assets exceeds the cost that they're likely to recover, then the claim dies. Not because you've hid anything away, but because you've made yourself not worth chasing. You know, and that is what this structure does right in front of you. And I'm going to go through every single layer today and break it all down for you, okay? So let's start at the top, right? This is the top, the Cook Islands Trust up here, right? You can see it has a beneficiary, a trustee, and a settler, okay? And for the past 4 decades, the Cook Islands has built a huge legacy in terms of the gold standard for asset protection, you know? And I'm not being dramatic here at all. This is just, it's the most creditor-resistant trust on the planet, and I can't push this product enough, right? It's one of the most best products out there I've ever heard about, ever dealt with, ever learned about, and obviously now we deal with these structures on a daily basis, you know? First is the statute of the limitations, okay? And that is on the fraudulent transfers, right? Now, that is 1 year. So as soon as the assets have been transferred into a trust for over a year, it's just finished, protected. Compare that to 4 to 6 years in most common law jurisdictions, okay? In some US states, it's even up to 10 years. So that window in the Cook Islands closes really, really fast. Second, any creditor who challenges the trust has to litigate within the Cook Islands laws, right? And that's under Cook Island law with a Cook Islands legal counsel. A US judgment means nothing, right? Absolutely nothing. A UK judgment means absolutely nothing. Now just think about how amazing that actually is in terms of asset protection. And this is why clients generally who want to and are very serious about protecting their assets lean towards these Cook Island trusts. And that's how we're going to help clients all over the world protect their assets as well. And third, basically, the trustee can legally suspend all distributions the moment the creditor threat actually appears. So the trust doesn't need to be dissolved. It doesn't need to be restructured at the end of the day, you know? It is essentially, right? It just sits there completely intact while the creditor pursues a claim that can basically go absolutely nowhere. So the trust has 3 key people: the beneficiary, the trustee, and the settlor. I have explained this in other videos before, but the trustee is basically the person who manages the trust, typically a law firm, right? You can also have a protector as well, but I'll go into that in other videos. We don't need to go into that on this video in particular. The settlor is someone such as yourself, and the beneficiary is there as well. Now, below this Cook Islands Trust in this particular example is the Liechtenstein layer. And this is a layer that most people have never even heard of, okay? And honestly, it's one of the most interesting entities in international structuring, right? A Liechtenstein Anstalt, and before you ask, yes, Liechtenstein, the tiny principality which is just off Switzerland. I've been to Vaduz myself, which is the capital. It is a very nice capital, and it's one of the most beautiful, smallest cities on the planet. And it's got one of the best private wealth legal frameworks known, okay? So it's not actually a company, right? And it's not a trust. It's generally a very unique legal entity, right? It has a founder, and in this case, that is the Cook Islands Trust, and it has a purpose. But this is what makes it very special, is there is no shareholders, okay? There is no share register, there is no equity capital in the conventional sense. It's just a private founder certificate with a set of private bylaws. And this is what actually gives you access to European civil law, which is very important, okay? So it is an EEA member, and it sits inside the European Economic Trading Zone, you know? And it's recognized as a legal standard across all European jurisdictions. And it's not treated as a dodgy offshore shell or anything like this, which potentially we might see with the Cook Islands because of the asset protection and actual measures. It has institutional credibility. But more importantly for this structure, it adds a second governing law, a second legal system that any creditor has to get through before they actually get into the Cook Islands, right? And then that's even if they can reach the British Virgin Islands company below it, okay? So, you know, now you're looking at Cook Islands courts, Liechtenstein courts, which again is typically, always conducted in German, okay? And they have their own standards, right? And their own timeline as well. So in practice, this is a privacy layer that really controls a relay of the entire structure. The instructions flow down through private documents, distributions flow up through the same chain, and at no point does your name appear on any public document anywhere, which is absolutely fantastic, okay? Layer 3 is a BVI company. Now, we all know what a British Virgin Island company is. I don't need to go into too detail right here. Pretty fast to incorporate, a great, cheap, effective, very well used entity that's been used for absolute decades, right? And this is a simple holding company that organizes your 3 current entities. In this example over here, we have a Cayman Islands LP, the Irish company down here, and then a Lithuanian VOS, which is the current trading businesses. So the Cayman Islands LP is basically the in this example, David's actual investments. He invests a lot he's also a VC, right? He invests a lot into other equities. He invests a lot into businesses. He also has a few stakes within some funds, a new tokenized fund that came out of the Cayman Islands as well. So Cayman was perfect for him in an LP sense. So the tax is just passed on to the next party, which is a BVI, which is obviously 0% tax. The Iron one, he basically has a very small startup, which he did himself, just for fun, which is in software. So he has some small cash flow generations through there. And then again, the Lithuanian boss that was sold. I believe that's already been sold, but I think it's now a Miro license. He basically sold the software stack and the client book that was within this crypto exchange. So he sold that, and the proceedings went into the British Virgin Island company, right? Now, what's also key here is these banks will typically probably have fintech or private banking, depends on the volumes. For the Lithuanian and the Irish company, in David's example, they had fintech. Now, I have gone and made other videos on fintech and private banking before. Very simple to understand, two different business models, but you can go and check those out again. Okay, so I'm not going to go on for days here, but as you can see, we have going to miss one thing, and that is the Singapore private bank, whether it's DBS, HSBC, OCB, okay? And this is really, really nice to have a Singapore private bank. It's not scrutinized. We've seen Switzerland full. I've just made a video on Monaco private banking. It is key to have a beautiful private bank behind your structure, and a lot of Singaporean banks will love to work with these structures. They're happy to entertain the conversation. But I hope this structure here is a nice outline. I haven't made one in a while, and I thought it'd be great to show you guys how the structures actually work behind the scenes as an example. So again, if you did want to obviously get in contact, you have the links down below. Please share some love on the video, leave some comments, and let me know any future videos which you would like to see from our end. And it was great speaking to you here today, and I wish you a fantastic, prosperous future, and God bless, and look forward to hearing from you soon. Cheerio.